All right, real quick, I want to show the keyless works operate. When you pull the crown out, that's to the setting position, and here's what moved. Let's do it again. So I'm pushing it back into the winding position. You see the yoke back here. You'll be able to see it a little better, but I'm going to take the detent spring off. This is the detent spring here, and that's what helps it click. Watch it click back and forth. So click, click, and you can see it sliding, but it slides without the detent spring on it. So I'm going to take that cover off and show you the yoke. Same view with one piece removed, and now you can see the yoke move the sliding pinion, and I think that's one of the coolest things inside of a watch. Check that out. Watch, I'll point to what I'm talking about. This is the yoke, and when the stem gets pulled, let's see, when the stem gets pulled out, the setting lever gets moved by the stem out and then pushes on the top of the yoke and actually slides the sliding pinion also along the stem in the opposite direction. So when you pull it out, the yoke slides that sliding pinion into position to turn the hands in the setting position. And then when you push it back in, it's in position to wind. So it turns the winding pinion. So out, and it sets the hands in, and it slides back to set the, or to wind. I have removed the screws from the rotor assembly, and I'm going to take it off, and then you'll see how this works. So this is the, again, the rotor is the heavy weight that, the rotor is the heavy weight that winds the watch. It's on an assembly that includes the gears that gear it down to be able to wind the watch. So there it is. And what you're looking at here, I mean, it's a little hard to work it out because it's flipped, but 12 o'clock is up. Not that that matters too much, but this is up. This is the top side, and the crown is on the left because we're looking at the back side of the watch, the movement side of the watch. And as the rotor turns this gear train here, and it gears it down, gears it down, gears it down, until finally this last gear has a pinion on it, and that pinion, when this is flipped around, this pinion lines up with this crown wheel here on the movement, and the barrel is what has the spring in it. So, and then it's got it's called a click because it makes a clicking noise. That's what holds it in place, and now it's wound. So I wound it a few times, and you can see that this watch needs serviced, but it does kind of still work. So you can kind of still see how it works. Let's see if we can get ticking long enough to. There it goes a little bit. So you can see the balance wheel. There it goes. Ticks, 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 and it kind of slows down and stops. It's gummed up or something, you know, it's just. Alright, so now let's look at the parts. Okay, so found all the parts. Get it going. So you can see the fourth wheel turning, and the fourth wheel is the, okay, and I'll go in order of how they turn. So balance wheel, you can see going back and forth, that is like the pendulum. That's right here. That's the balance wheel, and it goes like a pendulum, back and forth. The balance wheel has a stone on the middle of it, on its shaft, that knocks a pallet fork back and forth, and then the other end of the pallet fork turns the ratchet wheel, which, let's see that turn. That is inside the watch. It's back inside there. You can barely see it. All right, here we go. We're going to do the whole train of wheels in one shot. So it starts with the balance wheel. You see that ticking back and forth. This is the balance wheel right here, very fragile. I don't want to really touch it. It ticks back and forth like a pendulum, and it is also on the hairspring that it stretches and squishes to tick. On the center of the balance wheel is a stone that pushes the pallet fork that you can see around right here. It moves back and forth about where I'm pointing. I don't know how else to describe that other than where I'm pointing. So right there, you can see it go back and forth. It's easier to see on the screen, on the big screen when you're watching it, than I can see on my camera right now. But the pallet fork is back in the, yeah, I can see it going back and forth right there. So then the pallet fork allows the ratchet wheel to turn, and the ratchet wheel teeth can be seen through this slot right here. And the ratchet wheel teeth go by, and it ticks, and that's what causes it to unwind at a fixed rate, because the weight of the balance wheel is exact. So it ticks like a pendulum back and forth at the same rate, and then it releases the mainspring through the train of wheels by the pallet fork releasing the ratchet wheel one at a time. Okay, and then the ratchet wheel turns the fourth wheel. It's called the fourth wheel because it's the fourth wheel, third wheel, and then the second wheel is coaxial with the fourth wheel, and I'll explain that. Because the fourth wheel, as you can see, it looks like it's probably ticking about like a second hand, and that's because it does turn the second hand. The other end of the shaft of this wheel is on the front side of the watch, because this is the back side of the watch. It's on the front side of the watch, and it turns the second hand. And that turns around once per minute when the watch is working right. And as you can see, it's turning counterclockwise, which makes sense because when it's flipped over, it turns clockwise. There it goes. We went and knocked this thing loose. So the pinion of, okay, here's the third wheel, because the pinion of this fourth wheel, which turns the second hand, turns the third wheel, and it doesn't turn fast enough for us to see it turn. But then the pinion of the third wheel turns it's called the second wheel, but it's attached to the minute hand, and I call it the center wheel. It's also called the second wheel. Okay, let's call it the center wheel. So the fourth wheel is centered in this case because it has a second hand that's on the front. But then the fourth wheel is coaxial also with the, see if we can see it. Yep, it's down in there. You can't see it turn, but it doesn't do any good. So see these teeth here of the fourth wheel in front of that. So, I mean, behind it as we're looking at it, but in front of it as you're thinking about the watch, is down in there behind the balance wheel and everything is the center wheel that turns the minute hand on the front of the watch. So that's the train of wheels. And, or the train wheels. And in general, it goes from the mainspring that gears up to go faster, faster, faster through the center wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel, ratchet wheel, the pallet fork, and then the balance wheel goes faster but less torque, and allows this mainspring to unwind slowly at a fixed rate. That's how the watch works. That's what it looks like. And again, it's just a beautiful piece of machinery here. Look at that. It's old. It's not working. It's over 50 years old, but it still kind of ticks. I mean, just the machining that goes into that the hairspring here. I mean, you can barely see the hairspring. I'll show you a picture of the hairspring. You know, incredible machining here. beautiful watch on the inside. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, and I want to do more of these videos to encourage people to get mechanical watches. They're